Welcome back in. Outkick the coverage. Appreciate all of you hanging out with us as we roll through the Tuesday edition of the program, breaking down everything in the world of the NFL and college football. We bring in my buddy Chad Withrow, 104.5 The Zone, at Withrow Zone there. Withrow, how exciting is it in the grand scheme of things to have 3 games on Saturday, 3 games on Sunday in the NFL, and then to have the national title game between Alabama and Ohio State? Those 7 games, how many of them do you think you will watch during the course of Saturday, Sunday, Monday?
I think all of them if I wasn't going to the Titans game on Sunday. So I will be back for the night game. So really the only game I'm going to miss is that Sunday late afternoon game. It's great. I mean, if you are a football fan, this is basically a national holiday. This kind of reminds me of the Thursday and Friday of the NCAA tournament, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you've got 2 days to just sit around, veg out, and watch one football game after the other, start to finish. Saturday, Sunday, and then, of course, Monday night for the national championship. I mean, I love it. I love having this many games, and, of course, all of them mattering so much. For whatever reason, that NFL playoff Saturday has always been one of my favorite days of the year. There's just something really cool about the Saturday late afternoon and then evening game of the NFL playoff weekend that I've always loved. And now getting 3 NFL playoff games on that Saturday is even better.
No, there's no doubt. All right, so I want to ask your opinion. So I'm going to be going to the Ravens-Titans game, as you just said that you were. The way that the social distancing and the way that seats work this year, even if you have season tickets, you weren't able to get your actual seats. So they kind of just give you a reservation for people out there who don't know, and you can go in and see where there are available seats. This might be the most old man seat move I've ever done before, all right? I want to get your verdict on this. So I knew that the Titans, if they were going to make the playoffs, were going to play on January 9th or 10th. And I knew that obviously there are some of those games. There's the night primetime games where you're not, playing in the daylight. But I was like, man, if there is a possibility of it being a game during the day, I want to be on the side of the stadium that is in the sun, right? Because I know it's going to be cold. And so making my decision on the seats, I was focused on making sure that I was on the side that would be in the sun. This has now worked out in my favor. But is that the ultimate old man move, to be looking to sit in the sunshine for potentially a playoff game?
Clay, I don't.
Does that make me a diva or a genius?
I'll preface by saying this: I've never known you to be the best planner of things like this. At times, you're very much a go with the flow person.
That's right.
When it comes to your personal life and your fun life, like going to football games. So I think this is maybe the most genius thing you've ever done, because the preparation level to know that you want to be on the sunny side in the cold is brilliant for you. And quite frankly, I'm shocked.
That's such an old man.
I thought you were going to pull the club level.
Oh,
like,
yeah,
I
definitely got. I
I
definitely got club level. Let's be honest. I can walk inside if it actually gets cold, but I got club level in the sun.
I know that your old seats were in the end zone.
Yeah, that's where my season tickets are. That's right.
So that's kind of out in the element. So you don't always have club seats. But I thought you were going to say that the old man move was that you upgraded to club seats, to which I would say that's a rich man move. When you can make any reservation you want and you get the most expensive seat in the house, that's you pulling the old rich man card and saying, I don't care how much it costs, just put me inside. Give me the heat, give me the bar right behind me, the better food, and you also said give me the sunny side. So, look, I think it's one of the smarter things you've done, and quite frankly, I'm impressed that you actually had enough foresight to go ahead and plan that way with the cold weather. So
I'll tell you why I thought about it, because the most recent game that I went to, which I don't even remember what game it was now, but we were on the dark side of the stadium, and I was sitting there looking, and I was like, and again, this is old man analysis. I was like, I bet it's 15 degrees warmer right now on the other side. And here's the other part of this. I don't want to be in the sun when it's the hot weather, right? Like when you play in, I have been in, a Southern football stadium on many a early September day where you feel like you're sitting on the surface of the sun, right? I mean, it is so hot that you feel like you might just pass out at any moment? I mean, I've told this story before, but I remember going, and it makes a big deal, by the way, if you go to like Southern college football stadiums, they put the visiting team in the sun, right? So I remember being behind the University of Tennessee's bench for I think it was the 2008 Tennessee against a Florida game. Tim Tebow was the starting quarterback. Eric Berry made an interception, returned it for a touchdown. It was like the only highlight that Tennessee had in that whole game. And it was so insanely hot that I was sitting there, like, had a pretty good seat, like down near the Tennessee sideline. And when I sat down, I had to go to the bathroom. And I swear to God, it's never happened to me before. I'm not even sure how it works biologically. But I sweat so much, I sweated out so much that I didn't have to go to the bathroom anymore. I don't even know physiologically how that works, if you can get so hot that you don't have to go to the bathroom anymore, but I legitimately think that I sweated out all of my urine. You think that's possible?
It's first off, it's
biologically?
I think, I'm not a doctor, Clay, but I would say just the dehydration level that you were
probably
under
not healthy. Yeah, probably not healthy, but I didn't have to go to the bathroom anymore.
Probably possible, but also not good for you.
Yes.
Whatever happened to you that day. But you've now successfully pulled off the reverse of that,
yes,
which is planning for the cold weather.
Well, what I would like to do.
So you really have come full circle since that game at Florida.
What I would like to do is go to the Titans next year and say, here, you probably never had anybody request this before, but for my season tickets in 2021, assuming that we're going to have full stadiums again, I would like to be on the shady side of the stadium for the first half of the year, and then I would like to be on the sunny side of the stadium for the second half of the year. And, you know, that I don't know if anybody's even requested that before, but they have trouble selling the club seats. You know this. Like, the club seats are super expensive. And so that's where, if you were going to be able to get season tickets, those are the ones that tend to come up available. I'm down in the end zone where I've been with my dad for 20 years. He's got two and I've got two side by side. But nowadays, like, I kind of am starting to play with the weather a little bit. And obviously the big decision here is the Titans need to at some point build a dome and take away all this concern.
Yeah, I think that they could probably do that for you, Clay. As a valued season ticket holder, as a valued member of the Middle Tennessee community, I feel like you could probably pull that off. So you should try, and it would be a great case study for your
to see if it's possible.
To see if it actually happens. And maybe you open up Pandora's box across the league, and people that listen will say, hey, if you could do it for Clay Travis, then you can do it for me here at New York Jets games for Jets season ticket holders or in Kansas City. So maybe if you can pull it off, you can open the door for everyone else.
All right, several different questions I want to get into with you. We're talking to at Withrow Zone, other than obviously the NFL playoffs. Would you, if you were the owner of the Jacksonville Jaguars, would you hire Urban Meyer? Would he be your top target?
Yes, and for this reason. Urban Meyer is a great structure guy. He's a great program guy. He's a great CEO of whatever you're doing. And this is the best blank slate in the NFL, right? They don't have a quarterback. They've got a lot of draft capital. They've got a lot of room under the cap. This is the perfect – if Urban Meyer was going to land in the NFL where he could just build his NFL franchise in his own image and turn it into his college franchise, this is the opportunity. So Urban Meyer, obviously a great coach. If he's going to make his foray into the NFL, I think it's the perfect spot. You know, and it has nothing to do with familiarity in North Florida or anything like that. He was the coach at Florida. I just think it's perfect because it's such a blank slate. You know, that they're terrible right now. Obviously, they lost their last 15 games of the season, but you're going to draft Trevor Lawrence, you would think, with the number one pick. You're starting with a quarterback that you're going to draft. There's not one currently on the roster that anyone cares about. And you've got so much room to grow and develop the way you want to. I think it's the perfect spot for Urban Meyer, and I think Jacksonville would be smart to hire him.
All right, so I opened up the show talking about the 6 open NFL jobs, and I ranked them in order in which, if I were the most desirable coaching candidate out there and everybody was trying to hire me, which, by the way, Titans offensive coordinator Arthur Smith may be interviewing with all 6 of those, and I'll ask you about him in a moment. But I said that to me, the best job out there is the Chargers because of Justin Herbert. The Texans, second best job because of, even with the lack of draft picks, Deshaun Watson is really, really good. I know as a head coach, ultimately you ride or die with the quality of the quarterback that you have ultimately. I put the Jags in at third place. Then I went with the Jets, the Lions, the Falcons. So I'm hitting you with all 6 of those open jobs in order right now. But how would you assess, which job would you take if you were the most desired head coaching candidate in the NFL and you could pick anywhere? Chargers, Texans, Jags, Jets, Lions, and the Falcons. Who's the best?
Well, it's a great question. So the Texans, they have the best quarterback in place, in Deshaun Watson. There's no doubt about that.
Indisputably.
I'm honestly considering for the number 1 spot either Texans, Chargers, or Jets. And the reason I bring the Jets into play is, how do you value Justin Fields versus Justin Herbert, for instance?
Yeah,
because that's going to be your quarterback, right? So if you think Justin Fields is better than Justin Herbert, then I think the Jets is a better job than the Chargers. You're getting him, the Justin Herbert, we know he had a good rookie season, possible offensive rookie of the year. We don't know with Justin Fields, but if you're a coach that thinks Justin Fields is great, and that's who you're going to draft with the Jets, I would say the Jets are probably it's probably the better job, quite frankly. So I think it's one of those 3. If you're going with the proven, it's the Texans with Deshaun Watson. And if you like the unproven but potential of Justin Fields, it's the Jets. And if you like what you saw in 1 year with a small sample of Justin Herbert, then it's the Chargers.
I think it's Chargers easy. And the reason I made the argument in the open is because Justin Herbert's really good. I saw enough to know that he's not going to be a bust. And it doesn't even matter how good you think a guy might be, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, Zach Wilson, whoever those quarterbacks that you might be interested in drafting are, all of them could be total bust, right? I mean, you go back just 3 years ago, and the 2 guys that I think probably were the most criticized of first-round draft picks were who? Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. And those 2 guys are the ones that have been by far the best successes. Now, Baker Mayfield, we'll see whether or not he can pull off an upset over the Steelers. Sam Darnold, the Jets have to decide what in the world to do with him. And I think it's fair to say Josh Rosen is just kind of a quarterback vagabond at this point. He doesn't really have any destination in place. And so that's a pretty challenging decision to even try to figure out what to do with him. But I think the odds of him ever mattering in a big way in the NFL landscape are pretty ridiculous. All right, a couple of other things.
One question for you, though, Clay. One question. Let's say you're Arthur Smith, Titans offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
You're interviewing all these jobs. You're interviewing with the Chargers. Would you, if you're interviewing for that job, request a conversation with Justin Herbert to ask about his decision-making process with that haircut that he had earlier this season? That would be a big red flag for me for the head of my franchise, would be that haircut decision.
Do you think Arthur Smith gets a head job?
Yes.
Yeah, for people who don't know Arthur Smith, by the way, he has reports are that he's going to potentially interview with all 6 of these jobs that are open. He's the Titans offensive coordinator, young guy. He's amazingly the son of the founder of FedEx. So it's always, I love to see stories like these. It's great to see a guy who came from nothing and have success. But I think it's almost in many ways, it's easy if your dad's a billionaire to just be like basically a playboy, right? I mean, you don't have to do anything in order to be successful in life, at least from a financial perspective. And this guy took the lowest level job at the NFL and worked his way up all the way to offensive coordinator, and then has had a tremendous amount of success and seems to be almost universally loved by the players that he's coaching. I mean, as a Titans fan, I kind of selfishly don't want him to leave, but it sounds like he's going to certainly get a head coaching opportunity.
Well, and you know that he had to take so much ribbing, like UPS jokes.
Oh, yeah.
He was probably taunted with UPS or that the U.S. mail was better than FedEx. But to put yourself through that, to be a low-level employee in the NFL, an analyst, and then an offensive position coach, then he's been a great offensive coordinator. He's 3 months younger than I am. He's 38 years old, and he's don't let the white hair fool you. He's actually a much younger guy than he looks. He's got the full head of salt and pepper hair. but only 38. Yeah, I think he's going to be a terrific head coach. He's done obviously a great job with the Titans offense.
All right, so several different angles here. Still, I got a couple more things. Talking to Chad Withrow at Withrow Zone. You can find him on Twitter there. When you look at did you see the Trevor Lawrence mustache story?
Yes.
Okay, so
I've seen the clip too of the woman saying he should shave the mustache.
Tomorrow we're going to set up the Outkick jury, so early tease for everybody out there, and I'll open up. We got so many different storylines that I want to get to today, still unpacking everything from the weekend. But tomorrow I want to get the Outkick jury weighing in. But for people out there who didn't hear it, effectively, and I don't think they've still ID'd who the woman was on the Zoom call talking with Trevor Lawrence after they lost to Ohio State, basically made fun of his mustache and said he needs to shave it. Now, I agree with her. The mustache is a ridiculous look. And by the way, he may also have the mustache because it's funny, right? I don't know what his sense of humor is, but a lot of people, a lot of people get the ironic mustache. Like, I don't think Gardner Minshew had the mustache because he was like, I look amazing with this. I think he started it as a joke, and then he was like, this is kind of funny, and it's like, it's an ironic mustache, like an ironic fashion move. So I would tend to bet that's what Trevor Lawrence is doing with his mustache. But if that is a man talking about a female athlete, okay, so everybody laughs it off when it's a woman talking about a man. I went on Twitter, and I 100% believe this. I think it's highly likely that the man who made a comment that was similar, not similar because I hope a woman doesn't have a mustache, but, you're ripping somebody's hair, you're ripping somebody's clothing, you're ripping somebody's body type, that would let loose 1,000 articles about how awful of a human being that guy was, and I think he'd probably end up losing his job. Do you agree with me that the standards would be entirely different if a male reporter had criticized in any way a female athlete's looks?
Yes, it would be totally different, and the reaction would be different. But I would also say that women in sports, the biggest problem a lot of times women in sports, specifically sports media, would say is that so many people judge them on their looks, and that's it. So if that's not really a thing with men in sports. Right? If that was constantly the thing that, you got this job because of this, or all that matters to you, it's not my brains, it's my looks.
Yeah, but that's different because I understand that on some level for media. But for athletes, I don't think that anybody's like, the reason why you're the best athlete in any particular sport is because of how you look, right? Because if that were true, like Willie McGee and Boban would have never ended up in their professions, right? Like there are lots of people who are male athletes that are not good-looking dudes, right? So I'm just talking about, we know whoever the athlete is, if you're one of the best in the world, the reason you're being quizzed is because of your athletics. So if you are in any way critical, I think, of a female athlete and any fashion decision she's making as a man, and by the way, this was unintentional for people out there who didn't hear it. It was a Zoom call, and the woman thought that she had muted her microphone, and instead it went out to everybody. Like, I think within 5 minutes of it happening, the guy who had done it, everybody would be talking about who it was. They'd be looking at every article he'd ever written. They'd be pouring, and I think he'd probably end up losing his job.
Well, I think you're right, first off, about what would happen to that person. I also think, and this probably, I don't know how this will come across, but I really don't care. I think there are acceptable double standards in the world. And I think that how you talk about a man or a woman's looks and how you can get away with it is an acceptable double standard. Now, I know that there's going to be people that would argue, well, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman or this and that. But I do think that it's different.
Let me give you a funny one. Let me give you a funny one there. Acceptable double standard. Woman is on a internet website, right, looking for Mr. Perfect, the man to spend the rest, Mr. Right, the man to spend the rest of her life with. A woman can say in her profile that she doesn't like short men, right? Totally acceptable. You know my wife.
Correct.
She is 5'2". She is not a tall woman. I asked her once, I said, if I were 5'6", would you have dated me? She said no. I said, but you realize I'm the exact same person. I'm also still substantially taller than you are at 5'6". You're 5'2". It's not like, you're 6'2" and I'm 5'4", and you got that awkward tall woman, short man thing going on. She said, yeah, I wouldn't have dated you. All right. And I said, but you understand, I have no control whatsoever over my height. No man does, right? And there are tons of women out there that are listening to us right now, and they're like, yeah, I don't want to date a short guy. And short guys are like, why'd you have to bring that up, Clay? Like, I was having a good morning, and I'm trying to date a girl, and now, so that side, right?
Well,
if a man,
guys.
bald guy's another great one.
Also, bald guys can't help it.
Yeah.
But yet it seems acceptable
for a woman to say,
I don't like bald guys.
Like the George Costanza situation on Seinfeld, short, bald man. He's in like the worst position imaginable. All right.
Look,
but if a woman says, if a man said, I don't want to date any fat women in his profile, it would be like, oh my, what in the world are you thinking? Like, how dare you? You're the worst human being ever. Yet, on some level, you can choose what you weigh a lot more than you can choose whether you have hair or how tall you are. One is acceptable, the other totally unacceptable.
Again, this is a great topic that we could spend a lot more time on. To me, it's another acceptable double standard that I'm okay with between men and women. And I'll give you another example. We've had a memorable exchange with Erin Andrews before. You and I have, Clay. Now, if I walked into a room and had just met Erin Andrews and started critiquing her hairstyle and the pants she's wearing and everything else, how do you think that would be received? But if Erin Andrews walks in and starts having fun with a guy, making fun of the shirt they're wearing or the way they have their hair, similar to, Trevor Lawrence needs to shave that mustache.
Yeah, that's funny. The woman, it's a great point.
Typically, the guy's not really going to care, right?
No, well, the woman gets the credit for being funny because you're like, oh, that's really funny. She's making fun of me. If you're a guy and you walk up and you – it's true. If you walk up to any woman, and immediately insult what she's wearing, even if you're trying to be funny, it's like, oh, God, that guy's kind of a huge jerk. Now, some women might also think it's funny, but the general consensus would be woman can make fun of man immediately upon meeting them, and it makes them more endearing and likable. Man makes fun of woman, it makes them seem like a jerk.
Yeah, I think so. Again, going along the lines of your question, I just feel like this is an acceptable double standard. Now, is the reaction to it acceptable when people go way over the top, when they're so upset about one thing and not upset about when you flip the sexes on it? No, I don't think that's acceptable, but this is something I'm okay with, right? It's funny when you hear what sounded like a young woman. I don't think it's a media member. I think it's a social media worker for one of the schools that wasn't muted. That's probably watching. It sounded like a college girl who was saying it could be someone at Clemson who knows Trevor Lawrence, honestly, that works in their PR department or something. Anyways, it's funny when you hear her say that about Trevor Lawrence and he can laugh it off. Not as funny if a guy says it about a woman, and I'm completely okay with that. I'm completely okay with it being different.
Acceptable double standards with Chad Withrow. We will talk to you again soon at Withrow Zone. Thanks for getting up early with us, and enjoy the lead up to some great games on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday.
Always fun to rise and shine with you, Clay. Thanks.
If only my wife said that.